Her name was Emily. She walked into my life at a charity gala in downtown Dallas. A red dress, a perfect smile, a confidence that could silence a room. I was done for the moment she said my name. I thought she was different. She talked about dreams, independence, and building a life on her own. I admired that. I wanted to protect that spirit, not control it. So I did what any man in love does. I tried to make her happy. Every morning, I stopped by her favorite coffee shop. I memorized her ridiculous order with oat milk and 3 espresso shots. I dropped it off at her office before heading to mine. She'd smile, kiss me, and say I was sweet. That smile was worth everything. I never realized it had a price. When her car broke down, I paid the repair bill without blinking. When she wanted to take an online marketing course, I covered the fee. I told myself I was helping her grow. She told her friends I was obsessed with her. I didn't care. I loved the idea of being needed. I loved seeing her eyes light up when I surprised her. But her eyes started changing. Every gift became a comparison. Every gesture became a competition. If I brought her flowers, she mentioned someone else's boyfriend bought jewelry. If I took her to dinner, she hinted that others went to fancier places. It was subtle at first. A small sigh. A casual remark. But it built a quiet pressure inside me. I started spending more, planning bigger things, trying to earn love that should have been free. On her birthday, I booked a weekend at a luxury resort. I thought it was perfect. She smiled, then said her friend's boyfriend took her to Napa Valley instead. My heart sank, but I smiled anyway. That's what you do when you love someone toxic. You keep smiling while you bleed. 8 months later, she mentioned her rent was going up. She said she might have to move somewhere smaller. I told her to move in with me. Her eyes lit up with gratitude, or maybe victory. She moved in with 2 suitcases and took over my entire home. Within weeks, my leather couch was gone. My living room smelled like vanilla candles and debt. She called it our space. I called it what it was, mine slowly disappearing. I didn't see it then, but she was reshaping everything around her. The house, the finances, me. She contributed $500 a month. I covered the rest because I loved her. That word, love, was my biggest weakness. I made her coffee every morning. She made new demands every week. I thought I was being a good man. She thought she was winning a game. And for a while, she did. Because I didn't notice, I was funding my own heartbreak. I was building her comfort with my effort. And every time she smiled, I told myself it was worth it. I was wrong. At first, living together felt like a dream. She called it a new chapter, a shared life, a step toward something real. I believed her. The first week, she filled the house with laughter and candles. The second week, she started rearranging everything I owned. My dark furniture was too masculine. My paintings were too cold. She said she wanted the place to feel more like us. But slowly, it began to feel less like me. She replaced my leather couch with something soft and beige. It cost over $4,000. Then came the curtains, rugs, throw pillows, all matching her aesthetic. Every purchase had the same script. Don't you think this would look nicer? I paid without thinking. I called it love. She called it style. By the end of the month, my home looked like a lifestyle magazine. Except every page was written in my name on the bills. She contributed $500, maybe. Groceries alone cost double that. I told myself it didn't matter. Money wasn't important when you loved someone. But the small changes never stopped. Every corner of the house carried her scent, her taste, her control. She even took half my closet. My clothes were folded next to perfume bottles and designer shoes I never bought. When I asked how she could afford them, she smiled. Sales, she said. There were always sales, Always new bags, always new excuses. She started ordering groceries online, expensive brands I'd never buy. She justified it by saying we deserved quality. I didn't argue. I was tired of arguing. Her voice was always sweet, but her words were commands wrapped in sugar. She had a way of making me feel guilty for saying no. If I hesitated, she pouted. If I refused, she cried. I gave in every time. She said I was thoughtful. She said I made her feel safe. But what she really meant was, I made her comfortable. Our routines became habits of control. She picked the restaurants, the plans, the friends we saw. I just followed. She wanted attention, but hated accountability. She said she loved independence, but she never paid for it. Sometimes I'd come home early and find her online shopping. She'd switch tabs the moment she heard me. Once, I caught a glimpse of a cart filled with luxury items. She laughed it off. It's just browsing, babe. But the packages kept arriving. Little boxes, pretty ribbons, big lies. I told myself it was harmless. I didn't know it was only the beginning. The spending grew heavier, like a shadow following us. And I kept convincing myself everything was fine. Love makes you blind, but guilt keeps you quiet. I didn't want to lose her. So I let her take what she wanted. My time, my money, my peace. She was building a kingdom inside my home. And I was the one paying for the throne. It started on a quiet Tuesday evening. Emily walked into my office, her face calm but her eyes sharp. She said we needed to talk. Those words never lead anywhere good. I closed my laptop and waited. She took a deep breath and said she felt suffocated. She said I was always there, always doing too much. She said she couldn't breathe around me. I froze. I thought I was being caring. She said I was being controlling. It didn't make sense. I texted her 3 times a day, maybe 4. I made her coffee, asked about her day, planned dinners. Apparently, that was too much love. She said she wanted independence. Freedom. Space. I didn't even know what that meant anymore. But I agreed. If she wanted space, I'd give her space. She looked surprised, almost disappointed. Like she expected me to beg. That night, she went out with friends and came home at 3 a.m. Normally, I would have called to check on her. That night, I didn't. Space right. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to her move around. Something felt wrong. The next morning, I didn't make her coffee. I didn't text her first. I just watched as she left without a kiss, without a word. At first, she seemed happy. She said it felt refreshing. She said things finally felt normal. I smiled and said I was glad. But I saw it changing day by day. She started staying out later. Her phone never left her hand. It used to sit on the counter unlocked. Now it was password protected, face down, always buzzing. She'd step outside to take calls, whispering on the porch. When I asked, she said it was work. Always work. I stopped believing that word. She began showering the moment she got home. No hugs, no conversation, just steam and silence. She started wearing different clothes. Lighter perfume. More makeup. Less jewelry. The ones I bought disappeared. When I asked, she said they were too fancy for everyday use. But she never wore them again. She left for work early, came home late. Groceries appeared less often. Excuses appeared more. I noticed her laughter changed too. It wasn't the same laugh I used to know. It sounded like she was performing. Every "I love you" started feeling like a script. I stopped fighting it. I matched her distance. No questions, no attention, no care. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her. But freedom turned her cold. And that coldness turned me awake. I started seeing what had been there all along. I wasn't smothering her. I was the only one holding our relationship together. When I let go, it all began to fall apart. Love didn't die loudly. It faded in silence, one unanswered text at a time. By the end of that month, I didn't feel like her boyfriend anymore. I felt like a stranger renting space in his own home. 2 weeks into our new space, I checked my credit card statements. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was filing expense reports for work. But trouble was waiting. There were restaurant charges I didn't recognize. A $220 bill from a sushi place I'd never been to. $180 at a steakhouse downtown. $156 at a wine bar I didn't even know existed. When I asked Emily, she said they were work dinners. Team outings, she called them. She said she didn't invite me because I wanted space. Her voice was calm, confident, practiced. But the dates didn't match her stories. Those work dinners happened on nights she said she was with friends. Something inside me started clicking into place. I opened more statements. There were new clothes, cosmetics, subscriptions I'd never seen. Our grocery bill had doubled, though we barely ate at home. It didn't make sense. Then I remembered the $8,500 I'd sent her. She said it was for a business venture. An online boutique with her college friend. She showed me a business plan, spreadsheets, and even a mock-up logo. I believed her. She looked so proud. But 2 months passed and nothing happened. No website. No meetings. No launch. When I asked, she said they were still setting things up. That night, I decided to call her college friend myself. She was confused when I mentioned the business. She said she hadn't talked to Emily in months. Her voice was sharp when she added, "I never asked anyone for money." My chest tightened. That was the moment everything cracked. The woman sleeping in my bed had lied about everything. I called my friend Daniel, a private investigator. He owed me a favor. I told him I needed a background check. He didn't ask why. 3 days later, he sent me a file. I opened it, expecting something small. Maybe debt, maybe bad credit. What I found made my stomach twist. 2 restraining orders from former boyfriends. Both claimed she drained their finances. One man said she maxed his credit cards for $15,000. Another took a personal loan for their wedding. She vanished 2 weeks before the ceremony. There was a small claims judgment against her for stealing a roommate's deposit. Even a dismissed charge for check fraud. Each time, she moved cities, changed jobs, and started over. She never kept a job longer than 8 months. The pattern was perfect. Meet a man, move in, spend his money, disappear. I wasn't the first. But I decided I'd be the last. That night, I sat in the dark staring at her asleep. For the first time, I didn't see the woman I loved. I saw a predator resting peacefully beside her prey. And I realized she wasn't stealing my money anymore. She was stealing my life, one lie at a time. I spent the next week collecting proof. Every charge, every message, every lie. I printed the bank statements and highlighted the dates. I made folders for screenshots, receipts, photos. Daniel, the investigator, gave me pictures of Emily with another man. They were holding hands, laughing, kissing in a restaurant. The timestamp matched one of her work dinners. She wasn't working, she was cheating. I didn't feel angry, not yet. Just cold. Like something inside me had frozen. I waited until Friday night to confront her. She came home smelling like wine and perfume. She smiled like nothing was wrong. "Hey, babe," she said, kissing my cheek. I asked her to sit down. She looked confused but sat anyway. I placed the folder on the table. "Can you explain this?" I asked. Her smile vanished. She glanced at the papers, then back at me. "That's private," she said. "Not anymore," I replied. She said they were business expenses. I showed her the $8,500 transfer. I told her I'd called her friend. Her face went pale. "She's lying," Emily whispered. She didn't want me to tell anyone yet. I didn't speak. I just opened the next folder. The photos. Her and the man at dinner. Her hand on his chest. Her lips on his. She gasped. "Who took these?" she demanded. "A friend," I said. "You had me followed," she screamed. "You stole from me," I answered quietly. For a second, she froze. Then the tears came. Not the kind that come from guilt, but the kind that come from fear. "I can explain," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "Which part?" I asked. "The lying, the cheating, the theft." She said she was confused. She said she made mistakes. She said she still loved me. I almost laughed. "Love doesn't take money and call it business," I said. Her tears turned to anger. "If you kick me out, I'll tell everyone you're abusive," she shouted. I smiled. "I already did a background check," I said. Her face went blank. "You told the same story about your last boyfriends." She didn't speak again. I told her she had until Sunday to leave. If she didn't, I'd file a police report. She begged, offered to pay me back double. I told her it was too late. The weekend was quiet, except for the sound of her packing. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she cursed my name. I didn't respond. By Monday morning, she was gone. I walked through the house, every room echoing with her absence. The couch she chose. The candles she burned. All of it felt fake, like a set after the actors had left. I went to the police station that afternoon. I filed the report for fraud and theft. And for the first time in months, I finally felt like I could breathe. Filing the report felt like crossing a line I could never return from. But I knew I had to do it. Emily needed to face what she had done. For weeks, I heard nothing. Then the police called. They had opened an investigation. She was questioned, panicked, denied everything. But I had proof. The fake business plan, the bank transfers, the photos, all of it. Her story fell apart fast. Her lawyer tried to say the money was a gift. But the prosecutor wasn't buying it. The fake documents proved intent to deceive. She broke down in court, crying in front of her parents. They looked shocked, devastated, ashamed. Her mother apologized to me after the hearing. She said they never knew what their daughter had become. Emily pled guilty to a reduced charge. She had to pay restitution, court costs, and fines. Over $12,000 total. Her parents covered it to keep her out of jail. But her reputation was already gone. Friends stopped answering her calls. Her job fired her quietly a week later. People started whispering her name like a warning. She moved back with her parents, trying to disappear. I thought it was over. I thought I could finally move on. Then 8 months later, I got another call. A detective from Houston asked if I could talk. He said Emily had been arrested again. This time it wasn't just me. There were 12 victims. Men from different cities, all with the same story. Fake businesses, fake plans, stolen money. Over $80,000 taken. My case was the key that linked them all together. The detective thanked me for pressing charges. He said most victims were too embarrassed to come forward. Without my case, they might never have caught her. I testified via video, telling the court what she did. Her expression was empty as she listened. No tears this time. No apologies. Just silence. She was sentenced to 2 years in state prison. Her parents were there again, older, smaller somehow. Her father told me they had spent their savings trying to fix her mistakes. He said they didn't know where they went wrong. I didn't have an answer. I just told him I hoped they'd find peace. As for me, I finally did. The anger faded first. Then the sadness. Then the fear of trusting anyone again. I learned that love without respect is just control in disguise. That kindness without boundaries becomes weakness. Emily wanted freedom, but she found it behind bars. And I, the man she once called clingy, finally learned what real freedom meant. Freedom from her lies. Freedom from guilt. Freedom to start again. Sometimes justice doesn't heal you, but it frees you. And that's enough. Months passed, and I felt like a different person. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just free. Free from the constant worry. Free from the lies. I stopped checking my phone for messages that never came. I stopped wondering where she was, who she was with. I focused on myself again. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. And as I did, I realized something. I wasn't the problem. I had loved her deeply, but that wasn't enough. Love shouldn't be one-sided. It shouldn't drain you dry. It shouldn't make you feel like you're not enough, no matter what you do. It took losing her to finally understand that. I no longer feared being alone. I feared being manipulated. And now, I knew how to spot it from a mile away. Emily's story ended the way it should. She was exposed, and I was free to move on. I don't regret what happened. It was painful, yes, but it was the lesson I needed to learn. Sometimes the best way to protect yourself is to walk away. And sometimes, walking away is the only way to find yourself again.